Hello everyone and welcome on in. Now there is another video coming on Gantsville. Don't worry about that. I haven't done a one and done and we're missing it. But today I wanted to talk about the Hornby 2026 range now the dust has settled. Now I wasn't able to tune in live, I was at work. But I did kind of follow the chatter through my lunch break online and after work and a couple of days after, and kind of feel bad for Hornby. The big channels have all got their videos out, and I won't repeat what they've said, but yeah, kind of feel like Hornby was in a damned if we do, damned if we don't situation. So let's run the intro, and then we can delve more into it. Okay, so Hornby 2026 range. Now, this is a re-recording because I did record yesterday talking about just the diesel and electric and rolling stock releases because Steam's not really my thing and I didn't feel qualified to say, yeah, this is a great model for this price or it's not, because honestly, in most cases, I don't know what I'm looking at. And, the model could be completely inaccurate and I wouldn't be able to comment because I don't know. So just focused on sort of diesel, electric, rolling stock, and I realised the video is over an hour long. And so this is going to be much more cut down, condensed version, looking at the stuff that's relevant to me and a few asides. And hopefully, yeah, a bit more concise. So the first thing that has to be mentioned, and everyone who's been around the channel for a while will probably be expecting this, the Railroad Range Class 60. Now, I initially posted on Discord whilst I was still at work on my lunch break and said, not interested. It's going to be a Lima re-release and for £100-ish. Didn't know the exact price. It's not for me. I have some Lima models and I can pick them up for around £40. Why do I want to pay £100? But it turns out, no, it is a full new tooling model, which is kind of a common thing for Hornby. I don't think it is it? I think Railroad Range, they generally take stuff from the older back catalogue and release as a railroad model. They don't generally new tool. So I didn't realise this until I got home, but I have pre-ordered one now because £105 full retail, so under £100 at the shops, or for the HM7000 TXS sound fitted locos, £160 full retail. Again, less at the shop, so most people have got them up for £144, which, I have a TXS sound fitted Hornby Class 60 already, one of the full fat ones, and the sounds are perfectly fine for me. You could pick out slight things and go, oh, this could be better. It's a Railroad Range one with sound for that price. This is perfect for the more budget conscious modeler, or someone just coming in, or someone who, would like a Class 60 but doesn't want to pay for the higher full-fledged models, because for normal viewing distances, this is going to be perfectly fine. Let's be honest. You go to a show and we're running one of these. It's going to take a real enthusiast to pick it out and go, oh yeah, that's not like perfect. It's not got this detail, not got that detail. So anyway, moving on. 3 liveries announced. So the main one that they focused on was the EWS 60038 Avesta Polare. And joining that is a triple grey coal sector 60069 Humphrey Davy. And then we have 60039 Dove Holes in DB Red. Now, this was part of the Super 60 refurb, so it's going to have incorrect headlights, or the other 2 may have the incorrect headlights. Who knows? But yeah, so they're not going to be doing models of class or loco specific. So any additions or changes, and thankfully, the Class 60s generally, with a few minor alterations in the Super 60 program, are generally the same throughout their working lives. So I'm sure there's going to be more liveries announced later on. Crucially for me, these 3 that they've announced are not available previously, and I can't say that for every member of the Class 60s. 60081, for example, has been done by every manufacturer so far, including Lima. 60074, Lima. Hornby, which I own the Hornby one. Acura Scale are now doing a version. And, you go through and there's certain liveries that everyone is doing. Steadfast, okay, you can kind of argue for that. First member of the class, although it wasn't the first one into traffic. So yeah, it's refreshing that these railroad range ones, they have selected members of the class that haven't been modelled before. So anyway, moving on from that, we have the branch line mixed traffic train set. Now, everyone loves a good train set. For me, what you get in the box is good for a start set. Not sure I'd have chosen the 06. That seems to have been around forever. And it kind of shows its age now, I think. And the 2 long wheelbase open wagons, again, I'm not keen on their inclusion. I would like to have just seen a couple of short wheelbase ones. I think it would have suited better. Honestly, in my opinion, the long wheelbase wagons, they're not as common, or wasn't as common in real life. The tooling on them is not great, and yeah, I'd like to see them disappear. The 4-wheel coach, I actually don't have a problem with. Yes, it's not modelled on anything specific, and it is very much a train set coach, but it's ubiquitous with a start set, and I don't think it's actually that bad. So, most people would say the coach is the one they'd ditch. The coach is what I'd keep, but £120 for a starter set, perfectly reasonable. Moving on to the next train set that a lot of people have kind of got the knickers in a twist about. So £500 is a lot. However, it is kind of your top tier. Now, it comes with Sir Nigel Gresley, the A4, and 3 Pullman coaches, which all feature light up lamps. So this is an existing thing that's been in the Hornby range for quite a while. So Nigel Gresley isn't one of the 00 die-cast bodies. It is plastic body, but I don't think it matters. To me, at least, I'm not a snob that, it's got to be die-cast. No. Die-cast helps if you are running prototypical length trains. You've got that extra weight there to get the traction to pull long rakes. Don't really need it in this. It does have the new Hornby steam generator, which was being pushed quite heavily this year, and I'm all for that. What else can I say about it? The thing that most people didn't like was the fact that you get 2 loops and 1 train. And I don't see the problem with that. And the reason I don't see a problem with that is it gives the buyer, who is going to be like one of the more affluent members of society, so someone who wants a train set, wants fine quality, but doesn't want to have to go buy their loco and coaches, and then has to go and buy the track, then has to go buy the controller. It's all in one set. And having the double loop means that they can get this, and then they can choose what they want to go out and buy for the second loop. And all they have to do is go buy their additional train. It makes perfect sense to me, and I'm not sure why so many other people don't get that. But yeah, that's a thing anyway. So moving on, they announced a Hornby 00 DP1 Celtic, which is National Railway Museum preserved, which has got a lot of people confused, myself included, because they've already announced a 00 English Electric DP1. But I believe that is as it was originally, so there is kind of few minor detail differences. But we haven't got that yet, and they've announced this new one, and people are a bit confused. I am, honestly, but it's there. £350 full retail, which is bang on, really, for a 00 model. For anyone who's not aware, 00 is the name they're using for their premium die-cast range. So these things are like picking up house brick. They're really heavy, really great runners. And yeah, the price is justified on those. Then moving in, got a whole host of reliveried stuff. Virgin HST pack. This has made me wonder why at the price point. So, okay, it's newer model. It's not the old Hornby Class 43, but £395 retail for 1 power car, 1 dummy car, and no coaches. And it's always been a thing way back to the Lima days. You buy an HST, you get 1 coach. So you've got a train to run. These things, you've got to go out and buy coaches straight up. Off the bat, it would look ridiculous just running the 2 power cars together. So the price for me is just a bit. Now, they did announce a whole range of coaches, so you can build up a full Virgin HST with the 2026 releases, but for me, the price isn't there. me, it's just not justified. Moving on, we've got the Class 802 whole trains 5-car train pack. So they have released the 800 class previously. So this is a whole trains livery, and it's a very nice livery. They've just got a picture of one passing by. It's not a render or anything. I'm guessing they just didn't have that to hand, but yeah, £550. It's a lot of money. But that's kind of where you're at for 5-car multiple units these days. There's no getting around it. Realistically, the electronic side of it is only a small portion of the cost. So with like the HSTs mentioned previously, in fact, one's a power car, one's a dummy car, there's probably not all that much money difference between the two models for cost. For us, it's like, well, that's basically a coach, the unpowered dummy car, but it doesn't work that way. So, yeah, that is that. We've got a couple of repainted Class 56s, which the sound fitted versions are coming in at £295. That's a lot of money. We've got the Acura scale ones out there, and that, let's be honest, that you're competing with that. Moving on, LNER Class 91 Neville Hill, £245. I'd like to see it a bit cheaper, personally. That's the DC version. That gets very expensive. Again, coaches and DVT are available later in the range, so you could build up an Intercity 225 set, as they used to be known. But yeah, £245. Yeah. Again, we've got the East Midland Railway, and which is the EMR and Intercity liveried pack of Class 43s. Again, £395. I'm not sure it's justified. But anyway, moving on. Another one that's got people a bit up in arms is Class 08. Yes, Bachmann have a Class 08 out. They have another 08 range out since then. Acura Scale's got one coming to market. So the 08 is not really new to the Hornby range. It's been out a while now. And we've got two choices. One is actually a Class 10, which does have detail differences, as it should, but they're both essentially Gronks. We have 10119 Margaret Ethel Thomas Alfred Naylor. Quite possibly one of the longest names ever added to a shunter. They're coming in at £200, and the second one of which is Class 08 Colchester TMD, which is done in a mock GER blue with vermilion striping livery. Some people have said the striping's over the top, but it's as it was. And, obviously the £200 price tag is going to be less in stores. I kind of like it. I don't own a Class 08 currently. The closest I come is Dick Hardy Class 09, which you're going to have to go back a lot of years. So that's a pocket rocket, inaccurate model. So maybe that's on my list. I'm not going to pre-order it, certainly not yet, but who knows. Couple of new liveries for the Ruston 88 DS. One is the Glenakill Yeast Factory, which Sam Strange had great delight saying yeast multiple times. And the load haul livery. I kind of like that load haul livery. It's going to be hard not to buy one of those. I may even get two because I own a 88 already. They're very good runners, and I initially purchased it with the idea of repainting it as Whitwell and Reefham's Typocraty. However, I can't bring myself to destroy the yellow livery that I already have. So, the load haul is mostly black, and I do like load haul. So if I find myself with enough funds when they come out, I'm going to get a couple. Moving on, we've got the railroad version of the Class 800 in Lumo livery. Now, I don't know if it's on the just a render, or if it's going to be on the final model, but the windows are all fully blacked out, which I don't know if that's a feature of the real thing, but yeah, I'm not a fan of that personally. They do have the coaches available as well. It is £200 for the two cars, which, seemed a bit pricey to me. Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. It's £150 for the two cars, and you will need 3 coaches. But as I say, the railroad range does have the coaches as well. I believe they're £35 each. It's just the overly tinted windows. I need to go and look at the full thing to see if that's accurate or not. The £200 price tag is for the Class 395 Javelin in the railroad range, which it seems strange to me that 395s have actually been out for quite a while, but to think that there's a railroad version and a full fat version kind of blows my mind. But again, £200, I suppose it is right, really, that we're priced at that, because we're talking about railroad range locos for £100. So yeah. Moving on, honourable mention for a steamy here is the Ginty in the Hart and Weaver limited livery for £70. Yeah, it's a railroad range model. For £70 for a very good looking steam loco that would be perfect in an industrial setting. What's not to like about that? I'm going to end up getting one. I know I am, because at that price point, it's a steam engine, and my knowledge of steam engines extends little enough that is good for me. Next up, got some repaints of the railroad Class 91. Again, £100. So when you're looking at it like that, and then look at the full fat version, you go, yeah, is the price difference justified? Is the full fat release worth that much more? Likewise, we've got a couple of liveries available on the railroad Class 90s, we've got EWS 900 020, 90 020, sorry. Again, available with the HM7000 fitted for that magical £55 extra. And we have an intercity liveried one, Royal Scot 90001. Next thing up is more reliveried, this time to the Class 66, and kind of wish these weren't in the range, if I'm honest, because for £10 less, we've got the Class 66 over the 60, and you know, the models are now showing their age compared. You know, they don't have working headlights, for example, and I know Tom is a massive fan of 66s. He's not really a railway person, but these things work past or near to his house every day, and so he's developed an affinity for 66s, but he doesn't necessarily want to be spending hundreds of pounds on a 66 from a Cura scale or whatever, because he's not into model railways enough to justify that. However, working headlights is not really a big ask, and so I would hope that Hornby are going to update the 66 to include features like that. So I would rather they hadn't released Freightliner 60 livery 66601, EWS 66022, and Colas blue and yellow livery Louise 66790. I'd rather they'd not done that, just left 66s out and done them as an update later in the year or next year, because you know there's a market for railroad range 66s, of course there is, but you know, let's get working headlights is not a big ask. Moving on, we've got railroad class 47 liveries available, 37s including the Pegasus, 37422 in the Switelski, is that how you pronounce it, livery. I'm not going to refer to it as I've heard other people, because that's very offensive, and yeah, we're not going there. But yeah, it is a nice livery. It's bang up to date. £95 again for all these. Again, I don't think these 47s and 37s have working headlights. I'd like to see that added. Obviously, these are the old Lima ones. You still got a pancake motor intruding into one of the cabs on the 37, so yeah, there we go. Railroad 08, I'm not even going to bother mentioning that. It's so inaccurate. All I'm going to say is, please don't buy it. Please send a message out to Hornby. We don't want the Ginty chassis 08 that just looks so wrong, even at £65. And the fact that they've done a sound version of it, no, we don't want it. Whilst I said previously in this video that railroad range is okay from like your 5-foot average viewing, that's all you want from it. This thing looks so fundamentally wrong that it just needs retiring and leaving far away. So moving on into rolling stock. So there's the West Riding Limited coaching stock, which are articulated coaches, Not really my era. Kind of cool, but let's say not really my era. The price seems fine-ish, but then we move into, let's say, we've got the Virgin liveried Mark IIIs. There's 4 versions to choose from, being the TS, TGS, TF, and TRSB. So you can build your full HST up, but they are going to be £50 full retail on each coach. LNER have the TSO E, TSO in 3 different versions, TSO D, Mark IV Buffet, FO for 2 versions, FOD for a version, and the Mark IV DVT. So you can build your full fat HST 225, as I mentioned before. Again, all £50. And then we get into Mark I corridor coaches for both Eastern, Western, Midland liveries, all in maroon. And then you have a Southern version, which is in green. And likewise, you have Mark I composite for all 4 regions. And the Mark I Tourist second opens, again, all 4. Railroad range. Now we've got the GWR Mark III TFO, Mark III Buffet, and Mark III TGS coaches. £35 seems about right to me. The Railroad Intercity Mark IV First Open, TSO, and Buffet cars, again £35 each, and the Mark IV DVT coming in at £60. So you could build a railroad range Intercity 225 for, it's going to be a few £100s, but it's not as bad as full-fledged one. Railroad range gets a Mark I Super Gov. I'm happy with that. I may again add a couple in for £35 a piece. You've got your Railroad Lumo coaches, £35 a piece. You've got 3 different versions to choose from. So that will make up your full 5-car set if you buy the end cars that were mentioned previously. The Railroad Javelin coach, there's only 1 version to choose from. Again, £35. But that might be correct to the full size thing. I'm not that familiar with Javelins. They're a bit south for me. The Railroad Royal Mail TPO coach. This is a harder sell at £60. Yes, it's operational, but you don't get the stuff to go with it. Mind blown, I know. Why would you do that? Intercity Mark III 4-car coach pack. So I believe that's the 4 coaches that were announced earlier for £200. So same price as what you're going to pay for singles. You can just go buy the pack for £200 for your HST. There are 3 Beatles wagons coming. So I'm guessing the first 2 are going to be box vans of some description. So you've got the Please Please Me UK album and the Hard Days Night US album launch. And I believe the 3rd one is a Gov. Let me find it. Yeah, Magical Mystery Tour Gov for £35. Whatever your personal feelings on Hornby doing additional things, what you've got to remember is they're not really for us. They are stuff for Beatles fans or Coca-Cola. They're novelty items, but they sell. They sell to the casual person, and I'm sure there's someone out there who has bought every single Beatles release so far because they're train fans and they're Beatles fans, and it doesn't matter if they're prototypical or not. And, this is the sort of thing that, like it or not, makes Hornby money. And, you know, it's their kind of bread and butter. It's what they need to do. Now, they did announce that there are no more Coca-Cola livery stuff coming because they've relinquished the license to that. Personally, I'd like to see some Pepsi stuff, but there you go. So, yeah, whether you're kind of ambiguous or passionately hate it, Beatles stuff's here to stay. It's not for you, just move on. Don't worry about it. It's so much going on in the world. That kind of thing is not worth getting stressed over. And it's not taken away from your modelling either by Hornby having that out there. That's a critical thing. They're not wasting time and money doing silly things like Beatles or the Christmas wagon. Those are the things that are making them money so they can make better models for us. Okay? Right. Moving on. We've got Clam Wagon in Engineers Dutch and a Taupe Wagon, £30 each. We've got the Amoco TTA tanker, £35, or they do a triple pack for £120. Then we've got 3 6-car tankers, 6-wheeled tankers for various breweries. I swear I haven't been drinking from those tankers. Yeah, that seems about right. £25 a piece. If you're a fan of any of those particular ones, like the Shepherd Neame Spitfire, I see that in supermarkets all the time. Again, not really for us, maybe, but it's gonna put some money in Hornby's pocket and keep the hobby alive. PR 21-ton hopper wagon, not in the railroad range, but at £20. Can't complain, really. And they have their triple wagon kit in Grindthorpe Coal Light livery for £60. Railroad capital wagon. Yeah, I hate the chassis on that. Kind of understand why it's out there. Really budget conscious or small children, but yeah, £20. It's not for me. But as I say, like the Beatles stuff, there is a place for it. If it's not for you, just move on. They have the refrigerator van, also at £20 in the railroad range. That's a bit better. It's a bit coarse. You've got your big D style tension locks, but it's £20. More importantly, probably is the Dutch livery 20-ton brake van in the railroad range. Again, £20. It's not going to be all bells and whistles, but it'll go with that taupe and clam very nicely, and I think that's going to sell rather well. We've also got a 12-ton tanker in Mobile livery, £20. What's better is that you have a triple pack consisting of a 7-plank wagon, one of the 12-ton tank, and a Southern Railway liveried cattle wagon. $36.49. I can get on board with that. I don't think the models are for me, but at that price, you know, for a budget conscious younger modeler, absolutely. The only other thing I do want to mention quickly is the Railroad Tankers triple pack. £35. You get 3 TTAs in SO, Mobile, and Total livery. Yeah, they're not realistically going to run together, but £35, you know, if you want to practice weathering or repainting, you can't go far wrong with that. Or if you just, yeah, you're not worried about prototypical accuracy, you just want an oil train. Again, can't go far wrong. So, I'd say a bit short, condensed version. I realise it's still over 40 minutes long, so I'm not going to hang around too much. As I said at the start of this video, I kind of feel bad for Hornby because everybody was saying for the last couple of years they need to go back to what they do best, which is budget-friendly, lower-end models. And there's a lot of railroad range in here. So they've listened, and people don't seem happy. There's a few in there that even I'm like, what on earth are you thinking on the pricing? And although there's no Hornby full fat class 60s mentioned in this new 2026 range, as I say, the price they charge for them, I'm glad there isn't, because I don't think that's £150 more value than what you're going to get with the new railroad range. And yeah, I don't know what to say. Some of the prices seem crazy, some seem spot on and realistic for today's market. And I want to congratulate Hornby and thank them for listening, focusing on the railroad range. There's a lot of higher end models as well. Don't get me wrong, I've glossed over all of the Steam announcements. There's a lot of steam generator ones in there, some 00 premium. You know, Hornby have got to kind of straddle both ends of the market. But I think they've got overall the balance right, and I don't quite understand why some people are coming so hard on them. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the situation. Let's say I wanted to wait for the dust to settle for a couple of days. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Are you excited for anything in the range? Steam, diesel, or electric? Is it all kind of much of a muchness? One question I will ask is, are you tainted by previous years of Hornby, and has that coloured your view of the 2026 announcement and kind of making you not look at it fairly? That's going to be a hard question, and a lot of people are probably going to dismiss it and go, no, I'm not judging them unfairly. They've done this for so many years, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, let me know. That's going to be it for this one, guys. If you haven't made it through to the end, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.